Good evening, everybody. This is Robin with another edition of Horror Pop After Midnight, and my guests tonight are filmmakers Paul A. Brooks and Sierra Renfro. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Going great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I checked out your independent horror film. It was like a found footage film called Hunting for the Hag. You guys were both writers on the film. How'd you come up with the story? Were you guys big into urban legends and witches? Or how did this idea come up between your twisted minds?
Paul, you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah, I think I've been watching more and more found footage over the last handful of years, and I felt like that might be a good direction for us to go in with a feature because they tend to be a little more forgiving when you're making them. And I was watching The Last Drive-In one night with Joe Bob Briggs. And they were playing a movie. It's Mother's Day today when we're recording this, so this is a little strange. They were playing a movie called Mother's Day. And it was one of those situations where I was watching it. I hadn't seen it before, and I just started getting some ideas for what could be sort of a found footage version of that film. There's a lot of differences, but that's kind of the genesis of it.
That's pretty good. If you're going to go back to that, you should have watched some of the movies of The Stepfather. Had kind of a little same premise of that, which gets in that whole creepy factor. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Sierra, how did you become part of this project?
Well, Paul and I go back like 10 years. He was actually one of the first friends I met when I moved to Los Angeles, and we had always just been kind of like writing buddies. We'd go to the, what was that place you always took me to, Paul?
Fry's.
The Fry's in Burbank that's now closed, and we'd write in the back where the, aliens in the 50s
The
car.
Atomic Cafe.
The Atomic Cafe. So, he was really eager to do a movie and like that year, and he's like, I want to do this fast. Here's the idea. Can you help me co-wrote it because we got to do this quick? And I was like, yeah, so down. So yeah, and then it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Like I said, I'm from California too, so when you guys were mentioning the cafe, now I know exactly where that's at because I grew up out there, but now I'm stuck out in the Midwest.
Same.
But I go.
Yeah, it's classic.
Yeah, but I go back, once a year. But yeah, let's talk about Hunting for the Hag. It starts off with three best friends. One of them who's doing a documentary about the Hawthorne Hag to see if the witch is legit or not. You know how people are always, curious about urban legends, and they have to go deep into the rabbit hole to see if this is really legit or not. And once they started going into it, all hell started breaking loose.
Yeah, we wanted to kind of bait and switch people a little bit. And I don't know how much we want to get into spoiler territory or not, but we wanted it to kind of start as one thing, and then by the end of the movie, it ends up as this completely different thing that hopefully you're not expecting. And from a lot of the reviews that we've gotten and a lot of the feedback we've gotten, that's, it seems that we've done our job in terms of that, because this movie has kind of thrown people for a loop most of the time. So, for us, it was just about doing something that has that found footage element to it, and then layering some different stuff on top of it, because it's really what's called the found footage hybrid movie, where there's found footage elements and there's more traditional narrative elements. And so it was really for us just kind of trying to have fun with it, come up with something interesting that would hopefully get people talking.
So did you get that idea? Did you do some research or on witches and urban legends to come up with the origin of the Hawthorne Hag? How'd you come up with her?
I want to say that when we were starting to write the script, just kind of took some stuff from different sources, put it in a blender, and kind of halfway made it up, halfway based it on some real stuff. And like Sierra mentioned, the whole process was pretty fast. I think from the time that we started writing the script to the time that we were shooting was only about 2.5 months, which is a pretty fast pre-production period. So we did kind of just make things up on the fly and kind of invent our own mythology a little bit.
So, Sierra, you play Candy, which is one of the friends who goes on this adventure. You were more the wild, adventurous type of girl between the three. What was it like working with them? And when you guys were doing scenes together, I know you were co-wrote this. Was there any ad-libbing in some of the certain scenes? I kind of got a feeling there was. You guys were having fun with it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Everybody always says that it feels like me, Jasmine, and Alexa like have known each other for a long time because our on-screen chemistry was really natural. And a lot of like in the car and stuff like that in the beginning, that was just us like ad-libbing. We had certain like anchor points that we knew we had to get the conversation and the direction going towards something, but we had all this fun like free zone play area in between those beats that we can just relax and like get into character together and just kind of go for it. So yeah, that was really fun. And I'm really blessed to have worked with them because I mean, I hadn't known them before the project. Paul knew them. Paul knew everybody. So like Paul was like the connector piece, but I had never met them before, like maybe on Zoom. And the first time we really hung out was like at the airport about to fly to Illinois. The day before. So we lucked out. We just jammed, vibed very naturally. Everybody on set did. So it was really fun and no drama. Just
the one thing I'll add to that is they definitely were encouraged to ad-lib, but they also knew their lines really well. Everything that was written on the page, all three of the ladies came in and knew exactly what they were doing with all of the dialogue that was written. So it was really nice to be able to trust them with, you know, everything and know that they had prepared a lot for this, because that just made the ad-libbing portions that much more fun.
Yeah, and Paul made that a very big point in the beginning. I think every single cast meeting we had, you said, it's less about hitting the exact lines and just knowing the character and knowing like where the story's going. And if you can do that, like it doesn't matter if you reword something or whatever. So I appreciated that, like as like working with you as a director, because that gives actors some freedom and like relaxation to kind of play. So
right.
Yeah,
I definitely think so. When you guys were writing the script, Sierra, was Candy written for you, or did you think of the Candy character for somebody else, or was this really meant for you when you and Paul wrote her?
I know the answer to that if you don't remember.
I kind of do, but go ahead. You can start.
Well, we had a conversation at one point about whether or not you wanted to play. I said, do you want to play Tara or... And you said, I'm kind of feeling more Candy. I'm just sort of drawn more towards Candy.
Yeah, because at that point, I think we knew the character breakdowns. And I think Paul was kind of like, well, Tara gets more, you know, she's the main character. You know, like, I felt you like pushing me towards her, which is nice. But like at the same time, I was like, I don't know. Candy just feels like fun, energy, like something I haven't really gotten to play before that I think I can do really well. And Paul was cool with that. So whenever we went to go right after that, it was kind of easy to like imagine me and the character and like what made sense. So
yes, Sierra, you nailed the role. Candy did to the T. You made me feel like you were one of those you know, legit, you know, beautiful, fun party girls out in Illinois, you know. Yeah, that wants to have fun and is not really worried about the whole documentary thing with their friends and all that. But you really nailed that role to the T, and I mean, I can tell you really had fun with it, and you were really serious about that role.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the part that I really like about Candy is that, at least through the whole script, there's so much room for just variation of like seeing the different parts of her personality and like seeing her in different situations. There's a lot of highs of being like very carefree, very fun, very outgoing, but then there was a lot of very, very like messed up moments that Candy had to go through, and you kind of got to see the like more raw side of her, the one that's not kind of fronting this party girl energy all the time, the one who's got baggage and hides it really well because she just wants to make everybody else like feel like everything's fun. So as an actor, that's those kinds of characters that allow you to have like more range is really fun to play.
Also, Paul, besides, the Hawthorne Hag, there was also some bad guys in the film, some good old country boys, out, going around hunting and, getting into trouble. And you played one of the main bad guys on there. So there was a scene, but I'm not going to spoil it since anybody hasn't seen the film. There was a scene between you and Sierra, Candy, and, you playing the bad guy. How intense was that certain scene for both of you guys when you guys were really getting physical and very emotional in that certain scene?
Horrible. Horrible. I made the mistake, again, because of the fast pre-production period. I made this mistake of just not mentioning that I was planning on playing Danny, is the name of my character. And so Sierra wrote a lot of the more difficult stuff that you're talking about, not realizing that she would have to be doing those scenes with me. And I'm like, I'm going to be playing Danny, right? She's like, oh no. So it was tough going into it, and it was tough doing some of those scenes as well, especially because it was the last thing that we shot. So everyone was tired. Everyone was, we were at the end of any movie, you're kind of at your wit's end. So trying to get it right. I remember Sierra specifically really wanting to do more takes over and over and over again because you wanted to get, a specific energy between our two characters. And I'm glad that we did that because, it's because we're such good friends. It's tough sometimes for me to watch those scenes, so hopefully people are sufficiently creeped out by it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that I think it also, there's like an uncomfortable element, like, oh, it's Paul, right? My fear was that we were going to start doing the scene and like I was going to get the giggles or something. Like I was going to not be able to like sit into it because I know you so well.
Did not happen.
But I think the fact that was the very last scene, like before I got on the plane and left, there was like this like locked in like mentality that we all had where we're like, we have a job to do and like, let's get into this. And it's almost like the tiredness and exhaustion of the entire week, like helped fuel that scene.
Yeah.
I gave it something like heavier in us to work with and pull from. And I think it ended up working the best way it could have because everybody was taking it very seriously. And but yeah, I mean, it's kind of good that we were able to do it together. It's not like some random man that had to do that to me. At least like there's some trust and like, trust and love that makes it feel like a safe space to be able to do scenes like that too.
Well, that's good to hear, and especially Paul's character. He kind of reminded me of a creepy Woody Allen.
I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, thank you, but also...
I think creepy Woody Allen is kind of redundant, though.
Right.
Now, let's talk about the Hawthorne Hag. She really got under my skin, especially, the screeches and how she did all the mannerisms and all that. It really got under my skin, on the edge of my seat. So, who did the makeup on the witch and the costume? It was good.
But
I was trying to get you to answer.
Oh, I thought you were pointing at something else.
Pointing at your head.
No, Aaliyah did the FX, and she's an incredible makeup artist. And
Aaliyah Craft.
Aaliyah Craft, and everybody worked hard. Like, everybody had their roles and everybody was running around, but like, she was one of the people on set who was like fucking on it, like every single day. Like, it seemed like she had not very many breaks throughout the day, especially when she had to do the hag makeup. It was like a marathon for her. And then at the end of the shoots, when we got done at like 5 a.m., she was like having to take off like all the makeup and stuff for everybody. So she's just like a warrior, incredible makeup artist. And what was really cool is we went to a festival, me and Paul, in San Francisco, and we met the director and writer of Frogman, and apparently he had known Aaliyah through a different movie thing or something. So it was cool having like this feeling, the integrated connection of like the indie horror community, where it's like, oh, you know, our makeup artist like through something else. It was just very cool. But yeah.
And let me also shout out our people who played the hag. Nate Gay did all the on-set acting as the hag and spent all that time getting into the makeup and getting into the wardrobe and really inhabiting the character. And I know that it's something that he was really excited to do. And then I'll also mention Bonnie Gordon, who did all of the voice work for the hag completely separately after we had shot the movie. She's a really talented voice actor in Los Angeles, and so it was really cool to kind of have two people, you know, bringing their own energy to the one character. So I'm happy to hear, Robin, that that it creeped you out.
Oh, it did. It kind of reminds me of back in the day. I used to play Dungeons and Dragons, and there was this book we played. It was called Baba Yaga, about this creepy haggy witch in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. And it always freaked me out. So when I saw the hag in the film, that really freaked me out, because it reminded me of the picture of the hag from the Dungeons and Dragons book when we played it. And I was picturing that hag that came out of the D&D book that was actually in that movie, you know, going around, you know, killing people and all that. It just irked me. I mean, and it takes a lot for me to watch a horror movie and get scared. But for some reason, that hag, you know, from D&D and the hag in your film, it just really got under my skin.
Interesting to hear you say that. Yeah, that's kind of like the look that we were going for. That kind of like D&D. You know, she had a lot of sort of like wet moss on her and stuff like that.
Also, let's talk about the blood. It wasn't that bloody in the film, but you had some clean blood kills. Who did the clean blood kills in the film?
Well, Aaliyah was on set to do a lot of the practical blood. We had tubes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It was a challenge in some points to sort of like, you know, figure out exactly how we were going to make some of that work. And again, she did an amazing job of sort of inventing some stuff on the spot to try to get to some of that to play the way we wanted it to. And then in post-production, we added some digital blood, which I'm not a fan of doing. I try to avoid whenever I can. And so we try to use it as sparingly as possible and really make sure that it didn't stick out too much. I think we kind of have mixed results with that. So it's kind of a combination of those two things and just finding a sweet spot for it.
Also, let's talk about the music as well. Music and score is very important in the film, especially in the horror film, where it gives you the creep factor and it gets you really, you know, in tune in certain scenes of the film. Who did the score?
The score was done by a guy named Ryan Aldrich, who has really come to be a great friend and someone that we're actually going to be collaborating with again on our next project. I'm going out to New Jersey next month to hang out with him for about a week and work on it. But he did the entire score, and he did all of the audio mixing. Every audio element that you hear in the film was done by him, with the one exception of the hag noises that Bonnie did that I just talked about. We had another guy named Ryan doing that, who also did a great job. But yeah, Ryan's score, we get a lot of compliments on the score. We get a lot of compliments on the sound design of the movie. It's really clean. He's just really good at what he does. And I kind of gave him free rein to sort of try whatever he wanted to. We said, let's try to do some sort of like John Carpenter-esque synth type stuff for the narrative section. And then it was really his idea to add on top of that sort of the more tribal stuff that you hear that sort of represents the sounds of the hag when she shows up. That was him really kind of coming up with that idea and sort of blending those two styles together.
I liked it, and what Sierra's speaking about earlier on the podcast, the cinematography and the camera shots. Some of the shots are pretty good. Like I noticed there was like certain angle shots on certain scenes, how you would play it out between the characters and the hag, how you zoomed it in, zoomed it out, and angled it a little bit. I love the cinematography and the camera work, how you did certain angles on certain scenes, and how you just got that perfect picture.
Thank you. Yeah, that was tricky because, a lot of it was the girls, for the found footage stuff. Mm-hmm. The girls were really holding the camera a lot of the time and kind of having to pull double duty, acting and having to remember their lines and also making sure that they were getting the shot. So I know that it wasn't easy for them. And then for the narrative section, we had a great team. K.R. Brooks did a lot of our cinematography with Nate Waters, and they did, I thought, an amazing job, giving it a completely different style for the other portion of the film.
I think so too. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. This is for you, Paul, and Sierra. And since the other two actresses isn't here, but we're going to use them anyway. Okay, say you guys all got together and decided to go hunt your own urban legend and do your own, documentary on that. Who would survive? Who would be the instigator? Who would get killed first? And which one of you guys would actually be the killer the whole time with you guys not even knowing?
Oh my gosh. Well, I would definitely die first. There's no question about that.
I think I'd be the instigator. I think Jasmine would survive.
Yeah.
And I think Alexa would be secretly the killer.
Yep, that's correct.
Oh, one of the silent but deadly ones.
Yeah.
The wild card,
I can definitely see that. I'm picturing her like the whole serial killer vibe. It's like, oh yeah, you guys are really going on this look for this urban legend. It's really me, but you guys don't even know about. But I'll ride along for the ride with it and see what happens.
Yeah, and she's the smallest of us, so I feel like she's like the most like stealthy and like no one would suspect. So
I totally agree as well. So on Hunting for the Hag, is there going to be like a sequel, or are you going to do a prequel how the Hawthorne Hag came to be? I would love to see an origin movie about the Hawthorne Hag.
Mm-hmm. There's definitely some ideas that we have talked about, and it comes up, during Q&A sometimes. If we have a screening somewhere, people always ask the question whether or not there would be a sequel. If someone wants to give us $350,000, yeah, there will be a sequel. Yeah. But my feeling is if we did that, it would have to be a much bigger project, because that's just the direction at the end of the film. It's leaning in a particular direction, and we would need, to make it a lot bigger. So it's definitely something that's on the table, but as of right now, we're working on other stuff, and it's not, something that's on our front burner or anything. It may be one day, but who knows?
Also on the set, do you guys have a story that really means something to you, like a keepsake in your mind of the film that will always stick with you for the rest of your life?
Sierra, do you remember talking about being Sierra had never been to the Midwest before, and she gets very nostalgic about the humidity, which is crazy to me. But it was something that she hadn't experienced, and sometimes she talks about it.
Yeah, the humidity, the like the smell of the fields,
It's different.
and the sound of cicadas at all times of the day just feels like summer camp now to me.
Summer camp vibes.
Summer camp vibes, yeah.
I feel you, Sierra, because like I said, I grew up in California most of my life, and I missed the dry heat, because where I grew up at was like 115 degrees. It was a dry heat, you were hot, but you didn't get like sweaty real bad like you do in the Midwest. So,
Yeah.
Right.
Sierra, when you did the film in the Midwest in Illinois, what was it like for you to actually be in the Midwest? What was going through your mind? What were you thinking before you flew from California? Did you have like crazy thoughts what Midwest people and Midwest would be like?
Not really. Like, I knew kind of what to expect, at least where like the house was, because Paul had sent me like a bunch of pictures and videos to write like the script off of the setup. So I could see like the corn in the background behind the pool, and I thought it looked so like cool and just picturesque. Like, I love that scene of us in the pool with like you could just see the corn stalks. But I'd say the most difficult thing for me is I've been vegan for 7 years, and I lucked out that Paul's mom is vegan, so she kind of had my back and was like, knew all the tips and tricks. Like, she was kind of like our crafty at sometimes, like providing food, and I was so grateful for Kathy to like have my back with that. But if there's like times that like I want like a snack or something, like going to the 99-cent store, I was like, what the hell do I eat here? So yeah, that was probably the most challenging, but yeah, wouldn't take it back. It was a great experience.
That was a good shot with you guys in the pool by the cornfield. It gave you that Midwestern American Gothic type of a horror scene, because you're sitting there. You can guess anything. I mean, you could be sitting in the pool. You don't know what's going to come behind the corn stalks or right in front of you. It just gives you that American Gothic. I had that American Gothic feel about it when I was watching that film, especially that scene. And I loved the camera zoom shot on it where you guys were chilling in the pool.
Yeah, I loved it. Looked so just like perfect. I don't know.
The movie was really written around the location. It really, in sort of the Roger Corman, who just passed away a couple days ago, really kind of using that school of thought of, if you have a location that's available to you, use that location and just, form a story around that location. So that's why we had very specific ideas of scenes like that we wanted to do, because we knew that we had those locations available to us. And it just makes writing a script so much easier, because you don't have to, well, we'd like to do this, but where are we going to find this location? We knew in advance that we had access to all that, and we knew that there was a sign in the bedroom that said today is going to be a great day, and you can use that to your advantage when you're writing.
Yeah, whose house was that? And it kind of reminded me of like a 70s vintage feel. The furniture in there, and you had like the the VHS tapes right there by the TV and all that. It kind of reminded me of a late 70s, early 80s feel. How'd you come up with that house and like the certain sayings on the walls and in the weirdness about the whole house?
It was all just there. We didn't decorate the set at all. Yeah, that's I call her my Aunt Patsy. It's actually my mom's cousin. It's her place up in Pontiac, which is about 35 minutes north of where I'm from. And yeah, she said, you're welcome to it. Come on over and shoot something if you'd like to. And we had, full access to the property. And so it was huge for us, that she let us do that, because obviously the movie wouldn't have happened without that. So we were very grateful to her that she was allowed us to do that, and that she has such great decorating taste.
So another question for you. You guys like to make a lot of indie horror. What drew you into like making indie horror films, and what was that one film that really got you into horror, that really said, hey, I like this, but I want to give indie horror a shot because I think I can make a great creepy messed up story. So, Sierra.
I mean, yeah, I've always loved horror. My parents scarred me with Signs when I was younger. That was a traumatizing event. But yeah, I've always loved horror. I think in high school, my first play was The Lottery, and it's like basically like everybody in like a village like picks a number, and whoever picks the fucking black dot or whatever, they get stoned to death, and that's like their tradition. So I got to play the girl Tessie Hutchinson, I think, who gets like killed at the end. And I got such a rush getting fake stones thrown at me and being able to, do a blood curdling scream. So I think from that moment on, I was like, yeah, I could do this. Like, I can get killed on camera professionally. That would be nice. So
I've not heard of this before.
Oh, well.
There we go.
Hey, actually,
I think for me,
go ahead.
I think for me, my number one influence will probably always be George A. Romero.
Mm-hmm.
Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead. We made a zombie film in 20 years ago. We made a zombie movie called Late Afternoon of the Living Dead. It's kind of an homage, which Jason Hull's directed, who you've had on your show before.
Yes.
And that kind of did it for me. Like, we were, just shooting on the weekends, but we were having so much fun making it that I'm like, I think I really want to keep this going. And so pretty much from the time that we were shooting that 20 years ago, me and Jason have been working on stuff together to try to keep the ball rolling on fun indie horror projects.
Also, another question I'm going to ask you guys is, it seems like indie horror is getting really popular lately because you keep on seeing more and more like certain indie horror films coming onto the big screens, like at AMC theaters or Regal theaters. They're coming out of the woodwork left and right. So what's your thoughts about that? How they're pushing more indie horror on the big screen to get more of an audience to really, dig into indie horror and support it?
I think it's great. I think it's all kind of has to do with how the industry is shifting and streaming and everything, kind of playing around with different hybrid models and stuff like that. It's very difficult having, now that HAG is out there and it's streaming on different platforms. I can tell you it's very difficult trying to get people to pay attention to your movie because there's just so much stuff out there. And so playing around with different models like that, I think is great. Obviously, next thing we do, we would love to have a short theatrical run or something like that. And if more independent movies are doing that sort of thing, certainly good news for us.
Yeah, because it's hard to be an indie horror filmmaker because sometimes you got to take the money out of your pocket and you have a certain budget and there's certain scenes you want to do and there's like certain scenes you have to cut out because you really don't have that budget, and you put your heart and soul into, like finding the locations, the story. I mean, everything. It really comes really hard for filmmakers to get certain films done. I mean, I totally respect you guys a lot because I support indie horror and I love it. Good or bad.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Some of the bad ones. Go ahead.
Well, we have to make sure that we shout out our incredible producer.
Go ahead.
Seth Kromick and his folks, Eric and Linda, who also helped finance the movie. We're in a very good position where we don't have to worry about financing necessarily in the way that some other people do. So, the movie HAG wouldn't have happened without Seth being on board as a producer. And so, as an indie filmmaker, it's a pretty big deal to be able to have that.
That's pretty good. Especially the HAG, since it's on streaming. Is it going to be distributed out on physical media, or is it just going to be, up in the air right now?
We're working on it. We're working on that. Me and Sierra, that was kind of our top goal when we were in San Francisco at the festival that she mentioned. That was kind of our top mission, was to try to find some people who might be interested in putting out Blu-ray. because I'm a physical media nutcase, and I would love to have the movie, in a nice, cool deluxe package. So we're working on it. Nothing is, we don't have any announcements to make or anything like that just yet, but hoping to have something out at some point later this year, next year, something like that. We're definitely working on it.
I think it would be cool because I'm a strong supporter of physical media too. And I would love to see like a cool art cover. You know how back in the day where you go to a video store and you see this beautiful art cover on the movie and you're all, man, this looks cool. But when you watch it, it's like totally different. That's what's in the cover. I would like to see more covers like that on physical media.
Yeah, that's exactly what got me into, movies in the first place, is going to the store and looking at stuff like that and watching a lot of special features. And that's one of the main reasons we want to put out a Blu-ray, is because we do have a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that we want to show off from the making of the film. Lots of just, chatting with people on set and showing how we did everything. And we want to do an audio commentary track and all that good stuff. So it'll definitely happen at some point. It's just a matter of figuring out who we're going to partner up with and stuff like that.
So, since you guys made the film, was there certain scenes that you had to cut out that would have been good in the film?
There's one deleted scene, yeah. There's one deleted scene. We one thing that really became a little bit of a conundrum for us that we had to figure out is that we got the rough cut of the film finished, and it wasn't long enough. And we're like, this is not good, because we want closer to a 90-minute movie so that we can have a decent shot at getting a distribution deal. And we only had about 70 minutes. And I know that some people don't mind that, but I just wanted something closer to 90. We had removed that one scene that I just didn't feel was necessary. And so we ended up completely rethinking and retooling the movie. And that's where the first scene and the last scene of the film came from with Daniel Roebuck. We shot all of that completely. We conceived of it and shot it completely separately from the rest of the film about 6 months after we had wrapped. And so we had to go out to LA and shoot with Dan and Jasmine. And I think it ended up making the movie a lot better, but initially none of that was part of the film.
Yeah.
And I love how it ended, because it threw you a curveball right there too, especially with Daniel Roebuck. I know him and Tammy pretty well. They're good people. And how'd you get Daniel part of the project? And I love the role you gave him and how it ended like that with him.
Well, thank you. Well, that was Sierra and me and Seth just kind of like sitting around brainstorming, like, what could we do to flesh this story out a little bit more and kind of flesh out the world of it a little bit more. Danny is really good friends with Steve Christopher, who's also in one of the redneck bad guys in the film. And I'd asked Steve to do the film, and then after we were wrapped, I said, I think we have a little bit of a situation where we might need to call Dan. And I had worked with Dan on some stuff in LA as well. So we've known him for, I don't know, close to 15 years at this point. So we were able to get on a call with him and talk to him about it. And he said, yeah, let's do it. And like I said, I'm so glad that we were able to work that out, because I think it adds a lot to the movie.
I think so too.
And I will say that every time we've screened the movie, the ending last 20 seconds with him and what's going on and what he's saying gets literal cheers from the audience. People are so excited with that energy, that style. And it's just it's very fun, and it makes me happy to see that people enjoy that kind of side of the movie so
yeah,
much.
And a lot of that is Dan too, because we had written dialogue for him and he pretty much looked at everything that was on the page and just reshaped it to sort of fit his style and his delivery, because he's just, he's been doing this a long time and he's really good at what he does. So a lot of that was just him sort of bringing his A game to the project, and we very much appreciate that.
Yeah, it gave me goosebumps with happiness too. You know how he portrayed that at the end. When I was watching it, I was like, yes, but I wish I was at a festival or with a audience. Feeling that experience at the same time. It's totally different when you're sitting at home watching the film than being at the theater where you can feel the emotion and all the energy of how people really get into it or like boo.
Yeah.
I miss the theatrical experience on this film.
No, you're right. It is different, and what was really surprising to me is that it's a different experience in different cities. I don't know why, but like we've screened it in Chicago and Philadelphia and Los Angeles and San Francisco, and for whatever reason, different crowds kind of react to different parts of the movie in different ways, and that's, as a filmmaker, just kind of a fascinating thing to be in the back of the theater and bear witness to.
It's so much fun to experience it differently. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So Sierra, like what Paul said, you guys are sitting in the theater with the audience, sitting in the back. What was going through your mind sitting with the audience, what they're going to think of Candy, and what was going through your guys' head when you guys, for the first time, watched it with an audience?
Oh, the first time I was so nervous. Even though I felt like it was very close friends, family of, I feel like you, Paul, it was like your people. But yeah, I was so nervous. The beers that I drank in the movie, they're really cool, by the way. What's their name again? White Oak. White Oak Brewery. Yeah, they're awesome. But anyways, they were selling White Oak beers, the same ones I was drinking in the movie, at the movie theater that we were watching it. So I got a blonde White Oak beer to take the nerves off, and in Candy style. And yeah, I was really nervous, but then once I heard people start laughing at certain jokes, or that one jump scare that gets everybody knowing that it's coming up, and feeling everybody react to it, I was able to relax and just enjoy the ride. And yeah, it's just a very fun and magical experience. Yeah.
Weird too, today is the 1-year anniversary of the premiere. We premiered the movie 1 year ago today in my hometown. And so, yeah, we kind of had that home team sort of crowd atmosphere where you could tell that everybody was really behind us and just jazzed to see the movie. And it was a pretty amazing night, having worked on something for so long and then finally being able to hang out with everybody and watch the movie and listen to all the reactions and everything.
So what's your guys' next project? What type of horror film you're going to do that's going to be a little bit... Go ahead, Sierra.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Robin.
That's
Which
all right.
One?
Ghost Girls.
Oh, okay. I was getting way ahead.
It's actually not a movie. We have a paranormal reality show that we're working on that Sierra is also one of the stars of.
Yeah, it's called Ghost Girls. You can watch the first episode on Tubi. But we filmed... Well, Seth joined sort of the group of Ghost Girls last year and helped us out with making 2 more episodes. So we shot that late last year. And yeah, I think Paul's just editing right now. But
that's all I'm doing.
It's... yeah. But yeah, I'm really excited. So it's actual reality TV, real ghost hunting, but it's a group of all girls. And if you like the paranormal... If you like ghosts, if you like that sort of a vibe, I'd say definitely check it out. There's quite a few interesting moments that we captured in that first episode, and I think there's some really cool moments that we captured in the next 2 episodes. So I'm really excited to share that with everybody once we release them. Probably.
And we're very adamant about not making stuff up. So everything, if you watch the episode, everything that you see in the episode is real and not fabricated in any way, because that's something that you definitely get with some other ghost hunting shows.
Yeah.
You guys got me at Ghost Girls and paranormal. I'm into all that. Anything that involves paranormal demology or anything reality, or that I am sold. I definitely got to check this out on Tubi. And then once you guys get the episodes, flowing, and you get enough episodes, I definitely would love to have you and the girls back onto the show so you can talk about your paranormal encounters and what you guys really caught, and what haunted locations you decided to film, what's going to really bring you the true evidence. And so these ghost girls, are they like legit paranormal investigators, or are they just like girls who are just interested in the paranormal and is doing their own paranormal investigations?
Kind of the concept that we had with the first episode, the one that you can watch on Tubi, is that our lead investigator, Ashley, used to be on Ghost Hunters.
Okay.
And so we brought her over as the lead investigator. And then Sierra and the two other ladies on the show, Carly and Sarah, are all kind of newer to the process. And so they're kind of learning from Ashley how to investigate, what different things mean. And then now with the new episodes, since they have a little bit more experience under their belt, it's kind of more like, everyone's just trying to get down to the bottom of whether or not these locations are haunted. So that's kind of the dynamic that we play with a little bit.
Well, you got me sold. And if you guys decide to do another area of investigation, you guys need to investigate Bobby Mackey's in Kentucky.
Oh my God. I would love to.
I've been there, and I investigated because I have friends in the paranormal field as well, and they like taking me sometimes because I'm like a magnet. And with me there, we caught a lot of stuff, especially down in the basement.
Oh, we'll have to have you as a guest on our next episode.
Yeah, you should. It was
the hair magnet. Yeah, we can use you in our investigation.
Yeah. People say I'm like a sensitive, and when we went down there, we caught a lot of stuff. I mean, caught a lot of we heard voices of kids. There's a room down there. It used to be a dressing room for this actress who killed herself in there back in the day, and you can go in there and smell the rose perfume in that room. It was creepy.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think, Robin, that you'll probably dig what we do, and when we have the 2 new episodes ready to come out, I think that's a great idea to have a couple of the girls on and talk to them more about their investigating process and everything.
I would love to have that. So you guys, where can everybody find you on social media, and what are you guys going to be doing next and all that great stuff?
You can follow us on Instagram, Into the Night Motion Pictures. We post updates on Hunting for the Hag, but also Ghost Girls. So if you want to stay in the loop about maybe the physical media release with Hunting for the Hag, or you want to know more about when those 2 next episodes are coming out for Ghost Girls, definitely give us a follow, and we'll keep you posted. We'll also be sharing any of our new projects that we will be working on, which we are eager and ready to start. And I'll let you take over, Paul.
Yeah, I wish we could talk about it a little bit more, but we're in the very beginning, stage of trying to figure out what we're going to do next. So right now it's kind of about promoting Hunting for the Hag and gearing up for Ghost Girls, and mainly Instagram. Just search for Into the Night Motion Pictures on Instagram, and that's where we post just about every day, really.
All right. Thank you so much, you guys. It was a blast. And thank you for you guys coming out of your busy schedules and, making me homesick because you guys are in California. When I definitely come, when I definitely come out for a visit, I'll definitely have to hit you guys up. Maybe we can go meet somewhere and get something to eat.
Yeah, I'd love to. Anytime. Just you can reach out to me on my own Instagram too. So it's at Sierra Renfro. But yeah, I'd love to.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Everybody, thank you for listening to Horror Pop After Midnight, and have a great